Good afternoon. My name is Brian Howard. I'm the Executive Director of the Spellman Museum of Stamps and Postal History, and it is such a great honor to host this program today and to welcome you to our galleries. Since we opened on May 4th, 1963, the Spellman has been a beacon to the stamp collecting community the world over. Our exhibitions, programs, and outreach have focused on bringing together participants of all ages and backgrounds to engage with philately and the enlightenment, connection, and joy that it provides. This is an exciting day for the museum. We owe a great thanks to Paige Tatum and Heidi Price, assisted by Jody Chase and Shaban Mahaney out at the front desk, all of whom worked very hard to bring today to fruition. My thanks also to Nathan Shore and the crew at the Weston Media Center for providing coverage for us today. Weston Media has been a steadfast supporter of the Spellman Museum, and we have a great partnership which extends far beyond just the activities for today. For this event, we have several sponsoring organizations that have stepped up to help support it and bring it to you today. This includes our partners at the Village Bank and also at Eastern Bank. If y'all could just wave the representatives here, thank you very much for your work. As well as our longtime partners, Noble Spirit Coins and Collectibles from Pittsfield, New Hampshire. Today's festivities, of course, being documented by the Weston Media Center. And last but not least, I'm pleased to introduce our title sponsor, to whom we are most grateful, Dr. Sohail and Mona Masood of Weston. Dr. Masood, thank you so much. Your support has truly made today possible, and I invite you to share a few comments on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to make it very short. I know that you want to know more about Barry White and the stamp. Just a little background on myself. I am the founder and CEO of Kaba Fusion, which is the largest home infusion company in USA. We provide patients at home with nursing and intravenous drugs. I've been doing it for 35 years, so I'm no spring chicken. And then I also have a comic book store in Lexington. It's called Omar's World of Comics. And that is for my son Omar, who has Down syndrome. And we hire people with special needs, and we have a very special program with Lexington High, where he graduated from. So I'm very proud of Omar's World of Comics, and if you guys get a chance, now they have a bistro, excellent food. My dad was very much into collecting stamps, and I always got this feeling that I need to continue his legacy. He died when he was 42 years old in 1969. He left his collection to my eldest brother, and then about 10 years ago he gave me his collection, then I had my collection. I learned so much from the stamps. I learned about countries that I had no clue. In Pakistan, I had very limited access. We had no Google, no nothing, so we could not just Google and find out what is happening. So I was telling Brian the other day that one of the stamps I had, it said Magyar Posta, and I like, what is Magyar Posta? Never heard of that country. Turned out that it's Bulgaria, and that's the name that they use on their stamps. So I'm very proud to be here tonight. I'm your neighbor. I live in 320. My daughter lives in 316, and my brother lives in 310 Wellesley Street, so we are all on Wellesley Street, very close by. He was supposed to come here, but I think he got delayed, my brother, so hopefully he will show up. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much, Sohail. Thank you. What to say about Dale Stephanos? Quite a bit, actually. Dale is a nationally prominent artist and illustrator, a college instructor, a musician, an accomplished triathlete, in addition to being a pretty great guy. He really fits the definition of what a modern-day Renaissance man is. And to have the opportunity to welcome Dale to the Spellman Museum for something that is near and dear to this museum's mission, and also something that will be a part of his legacy for the rest of his life is a tremendous honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Stephanos. Thanks, Dale.
Hello.
So welcome to the Spellman.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. What an honor. What an honor to be a part of really what I think is part of our shared culture. Stamps are such beautiful little messengers for our communication with each other, and just to be a small part of that is really quite an honor. When I was drawing on the floor, literally on the floor with crayons when I was a kid, I never would have dreamed that I would have ended up drawing a stamp that I think the initial run was 35 million.
Yeah.
And they're into their second run, so yeah, it's quite an honor. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's my long way of saying hello.
So Dale, I'm guessing that the Betty White stamp was not your first commission or your first foray into the world of art. And
No.
just curious, how did all of this, before we get into the details, how did all of this come about in your life? Is it something that's just always been with you, or is it something that you glommed onto when you were a teenager? What's your background with this?
Yes, to all of that. I was a habitual drawer when I was a kid. I mean, you've probably all encountered kids like that who their best way of communicating is through the pictures they draw. And I was really fortunate to be surrounded by loving adults. My parents were very encouraging. They kept me out of trouble. I had a babysitter who was very, very encouraging. We'd go down to the beach in Swampscott, Massachusetts, and draw pictures. And early on, I felt like that was the most direct line from doing something and then getting feedback.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, to getting approval. And kids are approval. We're too close. Our mics are trying to meet up with each other. So I was always encouraged to draw. It was never one of those, don't do that, do your work instead. And I just assumed I could do it. And I was not very good at holding jobs when I was young, when I was a teenager and then a young adult. But somehow I always found a way to make a living with my work. So it went from drawing caricatures for the Building 19 circular. Anybody remember that? Right? Weren't those awesome? Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm getting paid to do this. This is incredible. And then drawing caricatures at parties, at events. Then I went to editorial cartoons and somehow conned my way onto the staff at a regular spot with the Boston Herald and USA Today. And so I was always sort of entrepreneurial in my thinking and my approach to it. And I didn't want to do anything else for a living, so I made sure that drawing or painting in some way was what I was getting paid to do.
So was this all of your first professional positions? Was there any professional training that you had prior to doing this, or?
No, it's complete BS. You just say yes, I can do that, and then you figure out how to do that. There's no training involved. The training is the thousands of hours you spend doing something you really love, right? I didn't come from an art-minded family, although my parents were creative. We were a family of athletes. That's where the triathlon.
Still are, yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't shake it. Yeah. But I encountered art through our shared culture. Newspapers, movie posters, stamps were a huge thing. So those things were like my museum. That's where I was educated in what good pictures looked like. So I just like to draw a lot, and so there was no real training.
Okay.
I wish there was, because it would have saved me some time.
Well, yeah. Well, you've gotten some since, and we'll touch on that in a few minutes. But now, are you originally from the North Shore? Or where
I grew up in Swampscott, Massachusetts, on the North Shore, and then moved to Groveland, Massachusetts, in high school. Very angry. I was so angry about that. But that's where I met my high school girlfriend, Maria Nianakis, and she's now my wife, Maria Nianakis Stephanos. I always told her. It's wonderful that she has my last name, but don't you think Maria Nianakis is a much more fun name? Right? Yeah. Yep. So let's go. Right?
Oh, Dale Stephanos actually would probably sound pretty cool too. So.
I tell you what, thank God, because so many people have come up to me and said, Mr. Stephanos, that is your name. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. All right. So this has been a lifelong, started as an avocation, lifelong vocation for you now. And were there any particular turning points that you saw in your youth or your early career that brought you to the point where you would be considered for a USPS commission? Any big projects that stand out to you? Or?
I couldn't draw a direct line from a moment to this, but there did come a point where I really wanted to do a stamp. I forget which stamps really ignited that, but I saw a show of Michael D's work, who's done a lot of, he did the RGB, and he's done a lot of them, and it was just so beautiful. And I think artists, we fall in love with bodies of work or artists, and we're very we're not loyal to the art we love, put it that way. You fall in love, you have like a passionate affair with it. I love you, and then you just kind of move on because it's like, oh, I found a new thing I really love. But that really ignited a desire in me to do stamps, and it's going to sound weird. I'm not a magical thinker, but I really did start trying to manifest this kind of thing. I really focused more on portraits and faces rather than putting scenes and environments in the illustration work I was doing. And every single job I did, I tried to imagine, okay, this could be a stamp. Okay. And I sent USPS a book of my work, and I didn't hear anything for 5 years or so. And then I eventually heard something.
Well, it seems like your time early on in your life doing caricatures, both for events and professionally, really does make that connection to the portraits that you're so well known for today.
Yeah. This is much more realistic. If you show up at a bar mitzvah, you're not going to get this. So it's just 5 minutes, and it's the best they can do. Please be patient with those poor people, But I think it gave me the literally. I think I literally did at one point. A friend and I figured out we had done over like 180,000 drawings.
Wow.
And not good ones at all, but just the repetition, that gives you a lot of confidence. Mm-hmm. And then, as an illustrator, when opportunities would come up, I never really got nervous about any of that because, dealing with an art director is easy compared to dealing with, 50 kids at a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Or a wedding party or something.
Oh yeah, it's hard enough dealing with a couple kids at home. So yeah, I just can't imagine that. So more power to you. So your approach to caricatures into portrait drawing, could you describe a little bit about how that all comes to pass? Do you do multiple iterations of a drawing? What kind of medium do you use?
Yeah, well, for any illustration job, first you have to come up with. So they give you the problem. So you're solving somebody's problem visually. So for this, I don't know if you want me to get into how I did this yet.
Well, if it works for the general.
Sure. Okay, so I'll just give you a. I'm not sure where we're going to go, but I'll just take over. And
I'm just making everything up as I go along.
That's me, man. That's life. So for this, as an illustrator, I'm always solving somebody else's problem. The problem here was, we need a portrait of Betty White, and she was an animal rights activist, so we need to deal with that. How are we going to deal with that? So at first I thought, my art director and I thought, oh, well, we've got to put an animal in here. I mean, that's the obvious solve, right? So how do we do that? First, it was what photo reference am I going to work from? Because I always, for realism, you work from photos. And by that, I mean you're looking at a photo and just kind of getting the information from the photo. You're not just making it up. Any realism you see, nobody's making anything up. They're working from photography. So it was a struggle just to get the right photo reference. You know, she was around for so long that you got to pick which era, and you know, we're all different ages. You know, I encountered her as Sue Ann Nivens, at the, right? Wasn't she awesome and scary? She reminded me so much of my mother. The blue eyes and like the very terrifying sort of humor, you know. But you know, smart and lovable and funny. So that was my era. And then, you know, you've got the Golden Girls, and then you've got the, was it Christine or something like that?
Oh,
and then,
Hot in Cleveland? Or?
Hot in Cleveland, yeah. And then the, you know, at the very end there, she did some roasts that were absolutely hilarious that I can't quote. Go look it up on your own. But we kind of found a sweet spot that I think me and the design team agreed on, and that was like 2010-ish. So great, so we have that. That's part of the problem solved. Now, the animal rights activism, how do we deal with that? I drew like cats and dogs and I think even like a donkey or something like that. So I send a bunch of just thumbnail sketches with a basic likeness and you know, the different animals. So I would send those. In all, about 20 of these little thumbnail ideation sketches just to see if this was a thing. And we both felt like it's just not working. And I had a stamp before this that didn't go anywhere because it kind of it died with the family. And by that I mean I don't think they approved of it, or they were squabbling about it, something. So one morning at breakfast, my wife Maria I always doodle and just try to get ideas, just any piece of trash, anything. Everything has a drawing on it in my house. And Maria was going to work, and she had some kind of animal print on, and her earrings were crazy. And I looked down, and I realized, very nice, but kind of nuts. So I looked down, and I realized I had drawn a paw print, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool. So I'll just draw a paw print for the earring.
Can you move so we can see that?
And maybe that would be, like, that would solve the problem, right? Now, when you get so that solved the problem, great. I forget what question I'm answering, but I've completely taken over.
Oh, just talking about your drawing style, your approach to portraiture, and
so
how that...
This kind of thing happens almost every time I take on a project. You're given a problem, you try to figure it out, in the most elegant and entertaining way. And hopefully, you know, you get across the finish line with something people like.
Yeah, all right. Well, there's a reference here in my notes to your use of a Bic pen as a primary tool for developing your...
Oh yeah, I don't know what it is. I like the most primitive tools I can get, even though I work digitally for you know, this kind of work. I did the William F. Buckley. That's just a pencil drawing. And I like Bic pens, the colored ones, because you can just get them at CVS, you know, and they're all different colors, and it's cool. And you can get a pretty nice, realistic skin tone out of them. So yeah, I'm a big pen fan.
And when you have a commission like this, is it generally your decision as far as what medium you choose to use to interpret, or
generally, yeah.
Okay.
Generally,
somebody doesn't come and say, we want an oil portrait of XYZ for the next stamp?
Usually they don't, but I worked with the same art director on the Buckley stamp, and he had seen this body of work that I had done in pencil, and he was just looking for an excuse for me to use that style. And we both thought this was a really good opportunity to do that. So that was one of the few times I was actually asked to use a specific medium.
Okay.
But usually for professional jobs, I'll start in pencil, scan the drawing, and then paint it in Photoshop. And that doesn't mean like you put it in and you press a button. It's just that there are brushes and like a color palette in Photoshop.
Okay. You've made a few references to your art director and a team. Is this something that's specific to the USPS work that you've done, or do you have an entire team surrounding you to support your activities? How does that?
No, that's a
how does
really
that
good
all
question,
work?
actually. Any professional, either publishing or institutional, which this is, or advertising, any corporation, any business that hires me is using an art director as sort of my conductor. You can think of it that way. And the best ones know what you do and they leave you alone. Like those are the really high-end clients. And then usually the ones with less money, less experience, are just white-knuckling the whole thing and trying to control absolutely everything that happens. So with this, it's called, I think the art director's name is Greg Breeding, and he's done a ton of stamps. I think he's been with them for 20 years or so. But the process is, he and I are sort of, like he's sort of my advocate. Like we're working together, and like he's already chosen to work with me because of what I do. And now he's sort of my liaison to the Postal Service. There's a citizens committee that it has to go through. And then if the family is still around, it goes to the estate and to the family to make a decision. Which I agree with, because if Maria was going to be on a stamp, I wouldn't want her to be shown in the very best light the way I thought of her. So like that other stamp I mentioned that didn't make it through, I probably just didn't see the person the way they saw him, and that's cool, I get it. The funny thing is, like, I still get paid. So you don't have the satisfaction of having the thing out there, but I understand that. So it goes through several phases, and I think the reason they call it a forever stamp is because it takes forever. Like I'll send a sketch, and then just crickets for 3 months. And then everything has to happen, and then nothing for 6 months. And then okay, here's a secret, because I know nobody's really listening to us. I didn't know
Channel
this.
5 is here. Watch
Yeah. So don't tell anybody. I had no idea this was the final. I sent it thinking, okay, we're getting there. We'll still have a back and forth, because there's always some kind of conversation. Oh, somebody wants this. Let's change. So I sent it, and nothing, no communication. And then just one day last fall, I teach a Zoom class on Saturdays. I just heard Maria making a lot of noise in the kitchen, a lot of noise. But just CNN, ABC, NBC, AP. So I came out and was like, "Are you okay?" And it was basically like every outlet that was announcing it, pretty much every single news, media outlet it was just kind of unfolding. And I just remember thinking, I don't think I finished that.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And it's like, well, that's done. And okay, now I'll really embarrass myself. Because I didn't think it was done, I realized I think it was after it came out, or I think we were going to leave for LA to go to the first day of issue event. We were thinking, yeah, that's funny, I didn't think it was done. And then I was like, oh my God, I never sent an invoice. I never got paid. So I went through all my banking and all my invoices and all my records, and I didn't get paid, so I sent the invoice. And I finally got paid, don't worry. It's okay.
Well, it's well-deserved.
Yeah, thank you.
So it sounds like this was kind of a feast or famine. You do a bunch of work, hurry up and wait, and then you hear back.
For the project, but you're always, as a freelance illustrator, you've always got different things going on. I teach, there's always something happening.
Do you have a particular range of projects going at any one time, or is it sometimes you'll have 3 or 4 things going, and sometimes you'll have a dozen, or how does that all
and honestly,
work
sometimes it's slow, and you have to figure out a way to reinvent, and it can be really difficult. But that's when you kind of have faith in your ability to kind of just push forward. You know, there can come a time when there's no evidence that anything is happening anymore. You know what I mean? Like as a freelancer, any freelancer will tell you this. Maybe photographers will too. Sometimes you'll finish a job and you're like, well, maybe that's it. You know? Not really, but there's kind of that feeling. That's why teaching is nice. Also, you know, making sure that you're always learning and growing and interested in what you're doing. Like for the past 2 years, in 2020, not the past 2 years, but in 2020, I decided I wanted a future in higher education. I had already been teaching for a while. So I decided, I didn't go to college. So I decided it was time to get that undergrad degree and then get a master's so that I could, you know, have some kind of future in higher ed. And just finished my master's Saturday.
Congratulations. All right.
What's that? Tell them how old you are.
I'm 60 and he's 61.
But during that period, I had to make a body of work as a thesis project. And that body of work is what resulted, and it was this style, sort of, the William F. Buckley stamp. So that created a new opportunity to make that kind of work. And it's a much more personal, sort of personal style, and it's much more me, and I feel like I'm finally growing up. So that's the kind of thing you do as an artist. I think as any kind of creative person, you're always looking for ways to move the ball forward and get better. You're never good enough. It seems like as you grow, your taste is always just out of reach of your grasp, right? At least it is for me.
So the teaching side of things, you've been doing it for a number of years, and was that something that you gravitated to as a result of your past projects? Like maybe I have an opportunity to share this, or were you approached, or when did that happen, and how has that developed over the years?
Well, it's funny. It's always who you know, right? So a lot of my friends are illustrators, and in 2014. One of them gave me a call and asked if I had ever thought about teaching, and I said, dude, I never went to college, so no. And he said he would recommend me if I was interested at this little school in Connecticut, Lime Academy of Fine Arts, which is a lovely little school. So I went down, did an interview with them, and somehow they gave me the job. And I discovered I really loved it. And that, I taught there for a while, and then I started teaching at Suffolk University in 2018. And I really enjoyed it. And I just discovered, I like passing on the things that I know. I wish I met somebody like me, not to toot my own horn, but I've been doing this professionally for a long time. I didn't know there were professional artists when I was even college aged. I didn't know how to access these people. I didn't know how to do it. If I went to art school, maybe I would have. But for me, it's just a really special way to be able to kind of pass the torch. I was really fortunate in my MFA program to encounter a teacher who traced and by our, I mean the students in the room, our artistic lineage all the way back, and I mean names, all the way back to the Black Plague. That's where she lost it. So what I do now is, I go through that with my students and say, if you choose to really, put yourself out there and participate in this, you're now part of that lineage. You don't have to become an artist, but you're part of this now. And if you can just pass on a little bit of what you learned, you'll be part of something much bigger than you and something really special.
So are these art history courses? Are they design or painting or what?
Oh, I teach illustration. It's a design department, so I teach illustration for designers, and I focus on having my students reflect the history of graphic design in their illustration work. And then I teach the fundamentals, foundation drawing, foundation painting, imaging, digital imaging. And I like the students that come in and they don't really know what they're doing, because they don't have bad habits yet, and we can kind of start from scratch. My favorite thing in the world is drawing. I mean, I get kind of misty-eyed when I talk about drawing. I think it's just the most magical thing in the world. That's why this whole AI thing, the AI art, it's like, yeah, I can make impressive-looking pictures, but it doesn't give you the experience of really connecting. I always feel like that first time I hit a piece of paper with a pencil, that friction, it's like striking a match. And once you start doing that, you get more ideas. You know, you'll hear people say, well, I have to wait to be inspired. It's like, no, you got to work. Get to work and do something, and that will inspire you. It'll make you think, what else could I do with this? What else could I do with this? So, no idea what your question was, but.
Oh yeah, I forgot it too.
Yeah,
So where the rubber meets the road is you there with a blank canvas, and most of the work that you do, you have your own home studio. How is that? I'm assuming it's not your living room.
No, I've got an extremely cluttered, cramped studio with lots of every art supply in the world. Yeah.
Okay. How much time do you spend in there in a typical week? Or is there a typical week for you?
Well, generally, when Maria goes to work at about 3, I just go in there and hang till 10, 11 o'clock, and it's my favorite place in the world. As far as an indoor setting is concerned.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Cool. All right. I wanted to shift a little bit. We'll get to Betty specifically in just a few moments, but your portraits. There's so many iconic people that you have portrayed over the years. Just a couple examples here: David Bowie, Etta James, Charles Dickens, Arnold Palmer. What guides your choice of who to portray, or is that entirely based upon the commissions that you receive?
It's usually based on the commissions. Love Arnold Palmer, but I didn't wake up one morning and say, yeah, today's Arnold Palmer day. Here we go. Let's go. So it's usually a commission, but I try to become an instant expert in whoever I'm drawing or painting. So, with these two, while I was working on them, I just immersed myself in everything Betty. I had YouTube videos going. I have 3 screens, and I had YouTube videos. I had the photos. I listened to podcasts. I read. I wish I could quote her, but I can't. Wow. But I read as much as I can. It was really interesting reading a lot of William F. Buckley's work. I'm not politically aligned with him, but man, what a master of language. So impressive. I remember my father used to watch Firing Line, his TV show, and just the language, the artistic use of language to make a point was really impactful. So I try to become as much of an expert as possible, so that by the time I am really deep into it, I actually am a fan, and I do want to do that. I do want to love doing it, because there's nothing worse than, and I've had the experience. There's nothing worse than doing something you love and hating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly, you're doing something which is driven by this internal passion, and you are deeply immersed in your subjects. And you obviously spend a lot of time, focused right on your work. Is that something that you've just naturally gravitated to, the solitude of your activity, or do the voices in your head kind of?
No, that's my happy place. My parents were swimmers. My father briefly held a world record. It was one of those world records that's heartbreaking. John, you probably can relate to this sort of thing. I think the story goes, he was in the Navy, and he broke, I think, a 2:20 freestyle world record, and then the guy in the next heat broke that one, and then the guy in the next heat broke that one. So you had a podium of world record holders that day.
Yeah.
And then my mother was a swimming prodigy, held, there's a pool named after her in Somerville. So the swimming was the family business. So I spent most of my time as a kid like staring at the line on the bottom of the pool, going back and forth and back and forth for hours, for hours. So, you know, it's, what's it, Stockholm syndrome?
You start to take
that's
on
me
the,
and tedium. Like, I love tedium. That's why, you know, Ironman's, the bike, those long bike rides, you get into this kind of meditative, almost numb place. And I do the same thing when I work. You know, this stuff takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I really love, you know, when I'm into, you know, hour 12 and we're still kind of grinding out. I love the tedium and the solitude.
That actually makes sense, that your professional activity and your achievements in triathlon have a common base of just, you know, solitary focus and just endurance. And you know, that's just for reference, an Ironman triathlon, and I think you've done 4?
I've done 3.
3 is a little under a 2.5-mile swim, followed by a 112-mile bike ride, followed by a full marathon.
26.2 miles. And
26.2 miles. He's done it more. So it's that kind of focus which makes now it makes more sense to me why you would be so hyper focused on your particular topics. That is super impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Well, moving into the Betty White stamp specifically. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is, it's already iconic. How long has it been out? 3, 4 months?
March 27th.
March 27th.
Yeah.
I've talked with people outside of the circle of the Spellman Museum, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, the Betty White stamp, and it's
crazy.
It's incredible. And this is now in a second run?
That's what I'm told. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So how was this your first USPS commission?
It was not. The first one, like I said, did not make it to the end, and it still could get out there. I don't know. I signed an NDA, so I can't tell you who it is.
Okay.
But he's got the same first name as me. Oh well. Yeah.
So from start to finish, when did you either first apply or were first approached about this project to March 27th of this year?
I was first approached in the summer of 2023. No. Yes, 2023. And then it came out.
Little under 2 years.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But, so like that took a long time, and you know I described not knowing that it was coming out. But actual work time, like when I was, you know, being kind of a wise guy, people will ask me how long did that take, and I'll say, you know, 15 hours plus 58 years.
Yeah.
Right? But actual work time, I was actually sort of sad that I didn't have more. It didn't need more time because it came together really quickly. And there's a moment, you know, if you do portraits. Anybody in here an artist? Oh, you guys are. I could tell by the way you were vibing with some of the difficulties I was talking about. If you do portraits, there's a point, if you're successful, there's a point at which the piece starts to look back at you. Like there's a moment where it's looking back. And there was a moment when she looked back, and it was early on, and I was like, oh, yes. And then it was just kind of like, oh, now I gotta, you know, like finish it up, because you always wait for that moment. And it's kind of a real rush. It sounds weird, but it is. So this really, like working hours, 15 to 20 hours maybe.
Okay.
And that's because I wanted it to take a long time. This one took longer because it was very difficult. The reference was no good at all. No good. It was like an old Polaroid, so really soft. You couldn't really make things out.
Yeah.
And then it was in different clothes. A funny story. So I took my own reference photo of me with a tie, and Postal is very, very particular about, you know, legally clearing all of the photo reference. They need documentation for everything. So I got a note from the law part of it, Postal, asking, you know, where I got the photo, and I said, it's mine. So they needed the photo, they needed the metadata, because it's a digital photo to prove it was mine.
Yep.
And then they paid me $500 for the use of the photo. I was like, I'm doing that more often.
If you need a step-in model,
I was
just
going to say, hey, that's my dress with Betty.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you get the commission, what is that whole process?
Jumping up and down a lot, you know, scaring the cat, and then
they USPS just calls and says you got it and go.
well, yeah, they ask if you're available, and the answer is always yes. You know?
Yeah.
And then really it's just getting the details of the job, and there's always some kind of barrier that you have to get over. Like I did a couple that are coming out in the spring, and I can't say who they are, but I think I can say the only reference I had were just old oil paintings. And like, I'm not just going to recreate an old oil painting, you know what I mean? God damn it, I should have sent them the photos because I would have got paid more. So I have like studio lighting at home, strobes, so I set up the lighting and I did it. So they're very contemporary looking versions of oil paintings, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with Betty, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did she have children? She did.
No.
I didn't think she did. But you.
So did she?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you had liaison with her estate, and did you need to get a?
No, they're very good at separating separating me from anybody but my art director.
Okay.
And it's fantastic because like we work very closely together. Okay. He's chosen to, or she, whichever the case, because it's been both. But they've chosen to work with me because of what I do, which is a real blessing because I'm not trying to sell them on anything. They just want me to do what I do the best I can do it.
Okay.
And they know the way to do that is to give me the best material possible and leave me alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with your first commission that did not end up getting approved, there was some type of feedback from? Not really,
no. It just didn't happen. Like the way I described this, just sort of being out there, and then suddenly it was announced. I just never heard anything. You know, I sent what I thought was the final. Yeah. And then, so I don't know. It might come out.
Okay.
It's happened. Like there have been instances where it's been 5 years between, you know, submission and.
Okay. All right. Well, keep watching CNN or the news, and maybe you'll find out if it did. So. Yeah. All right. I see that there's 3 additional USPS commissions in the hopper. I'm assuming this is one.
Yep. Yep.
Can you discuss the other 2?
Only that the other 2 are part of a larger body of stamps, and that they have something to do with America.
Well, that would make sense.
And they'll be coming out in the spring.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Just a few more questions, and thank you again so much for being so forthcoming. This is just fantastic. You've done a ton of commissions over your career. Does anyone, or do you have a few examples of what you would consider to be either your toughest or just the most challenging or perhaps the most rewarding commissions in your career, or does each one, it's kind of like picking a favorite child and
no, because there are some ugly kids in there.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
But early on, I started as a cartoonist. I loved Mad Magazine growing up, and I got to do a Mad Magazine cover.
Alfred E. Newman.
Super cool. Yeah. Cool. So I did a few things for them, and last summer, the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge had a show of Mad Magazine work, and those pieces were in there, and now those are in the permanent collection of the Rockwell Museum.
Oh, cool.
So that's pretty cool.
That's great. That is great.
Thank you. And then, I was a musician, so Rolling Stone magazine was my Bible. So when I finally got work with them, that was pretty special as well. And they had a show at the Society of Illustrators in New York. They had a show of the portraits that had been in Rolling Stone over the years. And it was really cool.
Who did you do?
Oh, I did Etta James. What else did I do? Pink, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, who I actually got to meet.
Cool.
Parenthetically. Who else? Diane Ross and the Supremes, Grateful Dead.
What's the one with yellow?
Ed James?
No.
Otis Redding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a bunch. So there was an opening at the Society of Illustrators, and like Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones was there. Some people from the Strokes were there. So it was a really cool kind of mix of what I consider sort of real life and fantasy. It's like, oh my God, that's Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. Were you able to exchange guitar licks with him, or?
No, but he's an artist, so you can just be artists together, which is pretty cool.
I think he was profiled. Maybe it was like CBS Sunday Morning some years ago about his artwork.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating to see these people that are so well recognized in one particular creative outlet, and to see that they're so incredibly accomplished in another.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And so, but not to go too far down the musician's path, but you also play.
Yeah, I was in my first life was I was a musician, and I supported myself as a caricature artist. My poor parents, I could have gone to college for free. My mother was a dean at Northeastern University, and I remember talking them out of it. I was like, I don't want to take someone's, I want to play guitar. So I would practice 8 hours a day. I treated it like a job. So when I finally convinced my father, he said, okay, what if it doesn't work out? What if music doesn't work out? I said, Dad, it's a no-brainer. I'll be an artist. And he was just like, oh my God. Oh. So I had to make it work.
Yep. Well, sometimes when you don't have a better option, you get creative and you put your nose to the grindstone.
The only option is the only option.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Greatest advice you've ever been given, and by whom?
By, first my parents, but then a succession of people, and that was really be yourself. And that might seem really obvious, but for creative people in particular, like I said earlier, you kind of fall in love with different styles and artists and muses as you go through. And like I tried on different styles, and for a while you think, oh, that's me, and then you realize that's not me at all. And I've received the most positive response and the most success when I've done something that is really, truly me. So it might sound obvious, but really just being authentically, as completely as possible yourself, with no airs, and for me, being as open as possible to possibilities and to opportunities. That's the best advice I've been given.
Okay. Just two more questions here on the official docket, and if you could invite anyone to be your next portrait subject,
Oh wow!
who would that be and why?
No.
Maria?
I keep asking her. She's like, no. Boy, that's a good question. I really don't know. That's a horrible answer too. I've done so many that, like I said earlier, when I'm working on something, I tend to fall in love with a person for a little while. So I don't really have if Johnny Cash was still alive, I'd like to do people who are alive, and I'm much more interested in meeting people and telling their story now than maybe in the past. I think maybe that's my next thing, is doing portraits of people and learning a bit about them and honoring them. Maria did this amazing story on Jack Ordner, is that his name? Just a gentleman who had been caught in a horrible fire. He was driving his truck, an oil truck, in a car on fire. He's horribly burned. And they came over a few weeks ago, and we were talking. And he was just such a lovely, beautiful person. And he's very scarred. And I just kept looking at him and just thinking how beautiful he was. And I want to draw that guy. So I think that's what I want to do from here on out, is do things that will actually be important to someone. These are awesome. This feels like the most important commercial work I've done because so many people have loved it. Like Maria keeps showing me TikTok videos of people who just got the stamps. Like, we finally found the Betty White stamps. My family got me a T-shirt that said "Betty White Stamp Guy." I almost wore it. So I don't know, like, professionally, commercially, I don't think I can top this. This has been such a universally positive experience. Today, can you think of anything that's out there in our culture that is like 100% positively received? Anything? No. This. And it's been such an incredible honor to be the person, the artist who delivered that and has made so many people happy and made so many people, want to share their enthusiasm. So I'm not going to replicate that. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
It's still an honor to do all these. So, like, what's that?
The fact that those two are beside each other.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like, who would you invite to dinner? Who wouldn't you invite to dinner?
Just talking about, universally accepted and
Yeah.
how she does it.
Yeah. So, So it's been a real honor to be sort of the vehicle for that kind of positivity. Going forward, I'd like to focus on real living people.
All right. I think you have largely answered this over the course of the last 45 minutes, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
The best part of your job?
The best part of my job really is it's very, very selfish. It's that feeling I get, like I said, when they look back at you and you've created something that's alive. This has been fantastic. The response to this has been overwhelming, and I've never experienced anything like this, and I really believe I probably won't again. So this has been amazing. But like, this is so out of the realm of normal that I don't consider it like part of what I do for a job. So really, it's the act of making these things and the hours I put in, and just the honor of being able to do this for a living. That's the best part about it, is I can say that, I'm an artist. And it's not, oh, that's a nice hobby. It's like, no, I'm like, this is what I do, and I guess I do it well enough to be able to make a living and for people to show up and listen to me talk about it.
Dale, your passion shows through not only in your artwork, but in your words, and the way that you share your interest and enthusiasm for your career and wanting to share that with the general public.
Thank you.
And thank you. It is truly an honor to have you here at the museum today to talk about this. I know that we've been looking forward to it for a long time, and to have you in here to share your joy is just fantastic. It's what we're all about, and we're so pleased. Thank you again. Now, I think we might have some time for Q&A. Do we have?
Anybody have any questions?
I talked a lot, if you don't have any questions.
No.
You went here and then over here. Yeah, I think we can hear. Yeah, we can all hear.
What is the significance
Of the purple? What is the significance of the purple? A while back when I was doing this, I was told, and I hope it's true, that purple is sometimes associated with protest. And I think her Inmo writes activity is really a beautiful form of protest on behalf of beings who can't speak for themselves, right? So I thought that would be a nice, just a nice gentle nod.
You tried all different colors.
Yeah, oh yeah, I tried, here we go. I tried all sorts of different color combinations, and really what I do is I kind of go around the color wheel. Anybody know about the color wheel? Yeah. I'm not going to talk about, Maria told me don't talk about the color wheel. I'm going to narrow it down pretty hard here. But anyway, I tried lots of different combinations, and I tried to give them as broad a menu as possible, and this was the one they came back with. Yes?
Well, what's interesting about that is I subscribe to the greater good, and if you cook every day, you can donate a bowl of food to different animal rescue charities, and their color is purple.
Oh.
So I thought maybe that had something to do with it.
I got lucky.
Yeah.
No, I knew what I was doing. You had a question?
Yes. What range of media do you use?
You have a fantastic voice. I use everything. My favorite is just a good old pencil, graphite, but I love oil painting. I'm not wild about acrylic because it dries too fast. I like pastel. I like media that you can move around, that you can physically move around, push around. So I like all of that, and that all informs my thinking when I work digitally. So I take that thinking into the digital realm, and I can still kind of think that way when using that media as well. But I'm an all-arounder. I'll throw everything at it. And sometimes that's not good because it's not, some of the work I do isn't archival because I'll put something over oil paint. You can't do that because oil dries slow, water doesn't, and then that's when things crack. Technical stuff. Anyway, I'll use anything I can. Yeah. My friend Mark English, or he's no longer with us, who did the George Washington stamp as you enter the bathroom, he used roofing tar. And the stuff was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So you can use anything. He used to shop at Home Depot for his art supplies. Yes.
Did the stamp change in your mind when it got printed compared to the original?
Really good question. Excellent question. So as an illustrator, and most illustrators will tell you, the printed piece is the finished product. That's the final. So I always think of the printed piece as the final work. And whatever I have, that's why I just said, if I'm doing something in traditional media, I don't really care all that much, if it's an illustration. I don't care that much if it lasts that long, because it only has to last long enough for me to get it on the scanner. Sometimes you'll cut paper out and kind of block in colors like that. Does that answer your question?
No. Were you happy with the way that looks when it came out of the stamp?
Oh, yeah, I was very happy. Yeah. No, although, I'll say.
You loved it.
No, I was very happy, but I'll say, if any of you have the stamp, if you can see that earring, I sweated bullets over how to solve this problem, this earring problem, and you can't see it. In the printed, the first thing I did when I got the stamps, I was like, nope. Can't see the earring. But if you take a picture with your phone and then you expand, then you can see it. But a lot of calories were burned over figuring out how to solve that problem.
So
But yes,
I'll say
I was happy.
something, even though I'm really just his wife today. But when we went to Los Angeles for the stamp release, which was epic and amazing and so wonderful, this is amazing. It's wonderful to be here. But her assistant, her longtime assistant, went over to Dale and said, I don't know how you did it, but that is her exact color of lipstick. And just the way her estate responded to the colors and the vibe that was coming through her, and how almost every decade of her life he captured in this tiny little stamp. And that reaction was amazing. So, yes, I think when Dale saw that, he thought, that they nailed the colors, the reproduction is perfect. But to hear it from the estate, that all of the way they saw her was the way she was depicted in that stamp, and then in this little space was such a tribute, I think, to Betty White.
I'm just going to say you're hired.
And,
Someone should marry that woman.
I know.
but it really, I loved your question because I think we were sometimes the reproduction is never what it looks like in our house in this tiny little studio, but they nailed it.
Yeah, so I was happy with it. I think her assistant also said that she was so enamored of that color that she like bought out the company's stock.
Yes,
Yeah.
of that lipstick.
Yeah, of that color, yeah. Yes.
It sounds like you had a great artistic director for the Betty White stamp, but I'm assuming that wasn't always the case. How did you resolve artistic differences with different clients?
Oh, yeah.
Was there a time when you were really happy about how you resolved it and very unhappy about how it was resolved?
Yeah, it's a job, right? So there are some art directors who the best ones do what they do, and they knew who I was, and they hired me because of what I do, and they let me do my thing. And there are others who are new at what they do, and they don't know what they're doing, and so they think they have to control every single step of the way. And I can kind of smell those now, like right away. It's like, ooh, red flag, red flag. You said you're going back to your team. And it's like, no, there's no team, there's you and me. So when I hear the word team, I know I'm in for some trouble, excuse me.
Yeah.
But there have been, I've been doing it for so long now that I can just push through a difficult, it's like any of us, if you get a difficult manager, it's like, well, we'll just try to figure out how to get through it. There have been 2 clients that I fired because it got out of control and they weren't listening, or they were being told they had to push me in a direction. But that's over the course of 35 years, that's a pretty good track record. But I'm pretty easy to get along with, and I'll save all of my complaining. Well, I mean, it's email now, so I don't even have to put the phone down and then start swearing. You know what I mean? But Maria has heard me in there. She's heard noise. Sometimes it's noisy, yeah.
Erica?
I'm absolutely mesmerized by, I love Betty White, that's why I came. I didn't realize we were also getting really that fussy. That's just such a mesmerizing image, and how big
Thank
is
you.
the original?
It's about,
Tiny,
it's
like Mona Lisa?
a little smaller than that. And it's a, it's a little smaller. It's a pencil drawing, and yeah, it takes some time.
Was that like weeks of on-off working? Or
Yeah, I'd say that was 2 weeks.
And stuff, or?
Yeah. And, I treat it like a work day. I'm not one of these all-nighter types. I manage my time pretty well. When I know I've got work, it's like, okay, I'm doing this. This is not, go out and go get an ice cream and go out for a bike ride. If I know I've got to get it done, I've got to get it done. But yeah, and this was a really difficult one, and we were sweating it right till the end because his son Christopher, who's a fantastic writer, he had the final say, and it was very clear, like he was going to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, and like the reference was so bad that I was focused on how difficult it was to translate into something presentable.
Did you look at a lot of other photos of it?
I did. And the problem, I'll be honest, the problem for me was he has such a pronounced profile that I wanted something that really showed that. The thing about like a straight-on portrait is you don't get a lot of angles. Like when you turn someone's head, suddenly you have the shape of the nose and the cheekbone and the jaw. But with a straight-on portrait like that, it's really hard. And then the lighting was no good. It was just flat light, so I couldn't. You want to really grab as much shape as possible. So it was difficult. But thank you. I think I didn't realize I did okay with it until after we got the thumbs up from his son. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Mine is more of a comment than a question. I just want to say that I really look forward to receiving that flyer in the newspaper for.
Oh, Building 19?
Building 19.
Oh, awesome.
I never the place, but I used to get the folder every single week.
Yeah.
It was the first thing I would pull out. I love that.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Thank you. I love, that's what was nice about the Mad Magazine show last year. I did that 20 years ago. So thank you for the work I did 30, 40 years ago. That guy back then would appreciate it, yeah.
Last question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is there some significance to the 3 lights above her head or the light glowing behind her?
It's more of a visual, compositional problem solve. I wanted so these are kind of reminiscent of old school Hollywood lights, you know what I mean? But I also wanted, I also have the round shapes down here, and she had a real effervescent personality, and I wanted that expressed in there too. So having these up here, continue down here, that was, kind of just one of those things you do as an artist to bring a picture in together. I'm joking.
All right.
Anybody else?
Dale, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to, you are always welcome here. We look forward to your next USPS commission to come back and to talk more about that. It's going to be very difficult, though, to top what you've done today. So, okay. We have refreshments. Thank you so much. Refreshments in the library, and again, thank you all so much for coming here. Thanks again to our sponsors, and have a wonderful evening. So, thank you very much.
Quick question. Thank you. That was beautiful. Wow. Yeah. Really good to meet you. All right, nice to meet you. Thank you. Appreciate it.